Hi everyone. This video is about systems thinking. In particular, I would go through the basics of systems thinking, and the material, just so you are aware, are supported by a very famous researcher, a systems thinking researcher, who is Donella Meadows, and her book Thinking in Systems, which was published in 2015. So let's start with the basic definition of a system. What is a system according to Meadows? There is the usual saying that you probably might hear about systems in general, that they are the sum of a system is a sum of its parts. But Meadows goes further to explain that a system is an interconnected set of elements that is coherently organized in a way that achieves something. Each system consists of three things. They have elements, they have interconnections, and they have a function or a purpose. So keep these three things in mind moving forward through this video. So each system has got three things: elements or parts, they have interconnections, and also they have a function or a purpose. Now, what are some examples of systems out there, so you are aware, is a city. A city is considered a system, a football team, a school, and also your brain, just to give you some ideas. Now, how do you know whether what you are looking at is a system or just a bunch of things, as Meadows said? She suggested asking the following questions to establish that. Can you identify the parts or the elements? Do these parts affect each other? Do these parts together produce or form an effect that differs from the effect of each part on its own? And is there a persistence of the effect or the behavior over time in different settings? So always ask these questions to establish, as a way to establish whether what you're dealing with, say what you're researching, what you're studying, etc., is a system. Now let's explain what interconnections are in systems. According to Meadows, interconnections are the relationships that hold or keep the elements or the parts together. Some of these interconnections are actual physical flows in systems, while many are flows of information. Signals, if you like, that go to decision points or action points within a system. So that is important for you to picture or conceptualize, in that they could be actual physical flows that are happening, or they could be information. Meadows noted that relationships tend to be hard to spot by us, just so you are aware about interconnections within systems. But Meadows also thought that knowing the function or purpose of systems is even harder to spot. This is because a system's function or purpose is not necessarily spoken, written, or expressed explicitly, except through the operation of the system. Now, how do you know a system's purpose? By watching it for a while to spot how it behaves. This is what Meadows suggests and stated. She stated that purposes are deducted from behavior, not from rhetoric or stated goals. Something important to explain is that you will notice Meadows used the words function and as well as purpose to explain that systems consist of both. But what is the difference between both these words? This is, again, important to realize and to understand. So you are aware, purposes when we talk about systems, are more relatable to humans or human systems, while the word function is more suitable for non-human systems. But there is no absolute distinction, since many systems can have both human and non-human elements within them. Other key points to explain regarding the purpose of a system is that purposes within a system may not be just human purposes, and that purposes are not necessarily intended by one actor within the system. That is why having multiple purposes that add up to an overall undesirable behavior could be frustrating. Also, systems can be nested within systems, which mean purposes can sit within purposes. So this means that keeping the overall system purpose and sub-purposes, in this case, in harmony, becomes a key function of a successful system. Now let's talk about changing the system. That is, if we wanted to change a system, we know what it is, etc. Changing elements within the system has the least effect on the system. However, you may change the system dramatically if the interconnections change. Same happens if you make any changes to the function or purpose of a system, even if the elements and interconnections stay the same. That is why all three are considered essential and important in a system. So if you ask which one is more important, is considered unsystematic. Another term that is key to systems that you need to be aware about is stocks. Stocks are considered the foundation of a system. They are the elements of a system which are seen, felt, counted, or measured at any given time. Meadows thought of a system stock as a store, a quantity, an accumulation of material or information that has been built over time. For example, system stock could be a water in a bathtub, as she described, your own self-confidence, or even money in a bank, just to give you an idea. The action of flow shows how stocks change over time. Flows could be filling or draining, births or deaths, growth and decay, successes and failures, etc. So this makes a stock the present memory of the history of changing flows within the system. So understanding stocks and flows in this case is important. Let's talk about why. By understanding the dynamics of stocks and flows, we can understand the behavior of complex systems over time. A key thing to understanding why systems behave the way that they do is that it takes time to change stocks because it takes time for flows to flow. In that sense, stocks can act as delays, lags, buffers, and sources of momentum in a system. So the dynamics of systems are set by stock changes. The implication of this is that we cannot give up too soon because of the rate of change of stocks, where change does not happen fast. And finally, something important to keep in mind in terms of systems is that systems thinkers see the world as a collection of stocks along with the mechanisms for regulating the levels in the stocks by manipulating flows. In other words, those who think in systems see the world as a collection or feedback processes. And in this case, for that matter, what do we mean by feedback or feedback loops that you keep also, I'm sure, hearing in terms of systems thinking? Feedback loops in this sense means constant behavior patterns over a long period of time. They occur when changes in a stock affect the flows into or out of that same stock. So I hope this video gave you an appreciation and an understanding of some of the basics of when it comes to systems thinking. If you are thinking about using systems thinking or systems theory, systems science, or even a systems methodology in general, in practice, in research, etc. And this is according to Donella Meadows, who was one of the most known systems thinkers who has done a lot of extensive research about the topics, about the